part of tonight is the abstract images, stills, and video. And so, actually, why don't we switch things? Ellen, why don't you begin with the video first? Want to do that? Because then after just your abstracts and designs and mine, then we're switching topics. So would you mind starting with the
No,
video?
that's fine.
Okay, then I will. And then we'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Sorry, I'm not quite there.
Sorry to
Let's see.
throw this on your lap was unexpected, but did you be starting? Anyway,
And,
you got
and it doesn't want to play. Oh, it's thinking about it. There we go.
definitely had a Zoom conspiracy tonight because I had a little Whitney at it. Now it's your turn.
So, did you see that or not?
Not.
Not? Okay.
Yeah,
It
we
says
saw
I'm
that.
screen sharing.
We saw it.
Yeah, we saw it moving.
Very low frame rate, but yeah, we're seeing it move.
Well, I optimized for video. What can you say? These are all super short, so I'll just play them, and if you don't see them, that's fine.
Well, you maybe then describe them.
I don't know why it says slow, but here we go. So I don't know whether you saw on that one these two shrimp.
No,
Not that we're
nothing
supposed to
is,
be looking at.
not seeing anything at this point.
What is
Oh,
that?
you're
Is
not.
it an urchin? What are they on? It was really pretty.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
see
it's an
it. We
urchin.
see the urchin and the two little shrimp.
Oh, really?
You're not seeing them, Andy?
I'm not seeing well, but apparently I'm the only one. So,
I think you are.
Oh, it's all
Yeah.
right.
yeah. Okay.
You
Well,
were there for this one, so
I
you saw
will.
it in reality.
Wow. Okay. Well, let me see what I can come up with here. Oh boy.
That's great.
There's a theme here. Bunch of things moving. Not really abstract, but I always like this one. And then just one more.
Oh, no, it's telling me it's locked me out. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
All right, that's it. Never mind.
Okay.
Is that a Spanish dancer? Oh,
No, it's a flatworm.
flatworm. Uh-huh. Spanish dancer has more dots on it, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. It's very beautiful.
Okay. All right. Share.
Back to you, Andy.
Yeah, I'm hoping here. I don't. Bear with me, guys. You want to can
No.
Oops. Let's put it here. Can you see the
Yep.
screen? Yep.
Yep, we're good.
Hey, good, good. All righty. So, I took the liberty of taking one of Ellen's photos and making it the title of this segment. This will come up again. So, Ellen, you want to give a little running commentary on?
Well, kind of the background on this was many years ago, the first trip I ever took, one of Andy's, he talked about the virtues of taking pictures with patterns, particularly if you're not having lots of other things to do. So ever since then, and that had to have been more than 10 years ago, I've been taking pictures of things with patterns and marking them as putting in a keyword patterns. So when it came time for this one, I was pretty excited because I had like 100 pictures to choose from.
Oh, that's great.
So anyway, these were just some of my favorites.
Giant clams are the best.
Yeah, they are. And it's always you get different colors to play with. Ooh, I remember seeing this. Oh, Ellen, if feel free to jump in with anything if you would like.
Oh, there's not, no, I don't have a lot to say. I don't have anything to say.
Okay.
It's all taken with
Just kind of,
macro.
Yeah, where was this from?
uh, I would have to find out.
Okay.
I'll look that up while we're going.
All
And of
right.
course, some of my favorite colors.
Yeah, this the sea star, right? And
Yeah.
then the treat sometimes getting the shrimps that are right on. Pretty cool. Oh, I almost thought this one today too. I had selected that
Was
too.
that one that you have also?
I did, but at the last minute, I did not put it in because I was trying to get it down to 10. So no. And one of these corals also. But corals and coral polyps, yeah, they're always they're fun to play with. And this is the kind of stuff like this and what we've been seeing. You show this to people who are not marine oriented or not divers, and they don't have a clue to what all this stuff could be. This one they didn't know. Mhm. Nice.
Some of them are a little more artful than others, but
That's very cool. There's a nice little extra twirl on the.
yeah.
Ooh, that's great.
Switching on these next few are mine. There's some crinoid. And I do the same thing as Ellen. In one of my the metadata, I put down uh, design pattern so that I was easy to get them for tonight. And there's a little on a sea star, but this is another little one. This was one I did not have a real wide angle lens. I had a 35 at that this dive, and so I just swam on top of because it was like a little pinnacle, and so I swam on top and just to try to get all of the what was around the sides, and then I switched it to a black and white just to uh, just play with the highlights that are on the edges of all the coral.
It really looks like a fisheye.
I know, but it wasn't because I didn't even have one on that trip.
What camera are you using, Andy?
A Nikon D850.
Okay.
This was with a wide angle lens, probably fisheye. or 17 to 35. And this is anchor. So it has two names, either anchor coral or hammer coral. And so it comes in a variety of colors, and I am always playing with them, just trying to get find little diagonal lines through the animal. And there's another one, and this is from 2 weeks ago, I think. One of those chain siphonophores, and I'm just lucky to be able to get one line of the siphonophore with each of the little lines going straight down, all pretty much in the same plane. So you're very lucky. This is a moon snail up and close.
Oh,
Sometimes the folds are can be really dark lined, and they're pretty interesting. Sometimes it's just a sort of a steel gray, but others really have these lines in it. I find them interesting. It's the same coral, not the same coral, but the same species that you shot,
it
Ellen.
might be.
Yeah. And then the same I was looking at was just trying to play with, the edge. Also, you have all these little highlight lines, curves going through it. And the same, just a coral. And I look around for something when I'm shooting this kind of stuff. I look around for two things. One, that it's going to be flat enough so all these would be on the same plane. Therefore, there'd be more of them would be in focus. And then I'm looking for some kind of a pattern, generally some diagonal, so that just to give it a little more interest. Now, this is our task from the last month. Um, and I was telling Becky that it's kind of funny. I think there's six of them here that people sent. Their edits, and uh, they came up into three different styles. So here's now like this, and Andrea, this is her idea of what she wanted to do, and saw it as this. Again, that's the original, and this, and then Ellen. Yours now it took on a sort of a reddish hue, which is exactly what Becky's did the same thing, except it was closer. And so yours had the surrounding area. This is more up up and close and more cropped. And this I try to play down the sides a little bit, so darken them a little, and then just to try to bring out the coral. And then Michael, the same kind of thing that with Becky and Ellen did. This one where what Michael did is came in closer, cropped it, and then put a little vignette around the sides. Gave it a nice look. So we will try because got some good feedback on doing this. So if you have an image that you think would be good for to do this again, let me know, and we'll put that on the list. So let's see now. Is there anyone here who sent me pictures from the abstracts that were not shown tonight? Good. Because I was afraid I left somebody's out and that I did not find them or I missed them or something. But so there were just two. So because I was away in New York this past week. And so when I finally got back and checked everything out, and I realized that we only had two people, Ellen and me, who were showing the abstracts of designs. So uh, since I was 2 weeks ago, last week, plus with part of the time up in Deer Island, first part with Luis, and then the last part with Timor. So you get to see, you two guys will get to see Deer Island again. So uh, anyway, Deer Island is New Brunswick Bay. For those of you that don't know, it's Bay of Fundy. Really, it's in the beginning of the Bay of Fundy, right in the we're at the opening, and it's right directly across from the river from Eastport, Maine. And in the other direction, you're looking at Campobello. So uh, it's as Luis mentioned, it's way up there. It's a long trip, but you do get to see a lot of things. And so these are both of these are breadcrumb sponges. This one here is one, and so is this. They just will take sometimes the current changes the shape of the animal. A breadcrumb sponge has many, many different variations. There's not a mold or anything that it does. And this is more an encrusting sponge. That's very different. And it's also the land of big lobster. Um, and 10-pound lobsters, 15-pound lobsters are not uncommon. And the thing, this is in a spot called the point where it kind of drops down, kind of it slopes down, but in big steps. And so if you're photographing something on one of the walls and your feet are hanging down, I always tell everyone when they go there to, before you settle in and begin to photograph, take a look and make sure your feet are not hanging in front of a lobster den because lobsters are so big they would break your ankles. So good advice. Anyway, so this one I was trying to get it down. I got down a little bit lower so that I could sort of frame the thing partially with that breadcrumb sponge. This is Deer Island. It's because it's the beginning of the Bay of Fundy. They have the huge tides way up into the bay, right in the almost to the very end of the Bay of Fundy. The tides on a perfect situation, full moon and all, they get to close to 50 feet. We in Deer Island, we don't see that. It's generally 18 feet, but it's like 18 to 30 feet is what the height of the tide. So that it's very common to see docks and small piers that are way out of the water for hours a day. And so one of the ways that they can work on their boats without standing in the water is that they use this. So a nice early on saw a large fishing boat here resting on this. Then I just never got back to take a picture of it, but the boat would tie up to the pier, and then when the tide goes out, this is still almost is mid tide. So the tide has a long way to go out. So then they can do whatever repairs, change a propeller, patch something, paint something. You've got plenty of time to do that. And there's two ways to get to this to Deer Island. One, there's a ferry. Um, there's a ferry that goes from Campobello to Deer Island. So it's Canada to Canada. And it's there used to be another ferry also that went to Eastport, same style as this. They just lower down the front part and you put half dozen cars in there. And the other ferry is going around up into in the mainland of Canada, and you take this ferry. and they put, big trucks, school buses, many cars. So it's a bigger one, and it's a free ferry. So the government, subsidizes this in order to be able to help the people who are living on the island and an integral part of the fish business. This is one of our dive sites. This was the high tide dive site. If, I don't know if I mentioned it, you only dive on the slack tide there because the tides once, an hour after the high tide or low tide, the current rips through there, and it's pretty fierce. I mean, it's absolutely impossible to dive there. So it's all about the time, timing the dive, timing. Normally, I would select a week based on the moon phase, and I try to avoid new moon, full moon. This time I couldn't, so Luis and I had a little bit of a sporty dive at the point because the current started to pick up, and it's not exactly the most pleasant. But what you see in the point is scenes like this, just gangs um, of anemones, and you very quickly realize there's so many there. You don't just if you see one, one, two, three. If it's not in a nice pattern or a grouping, you just swim on and find another one. You very quickly get spoiled. Uh, and they're not a huge variety of colors, but there's some, pure white ones. It seemed like I used to see more of the other, like a purple and deep, deep red, pure white or yellow. A lot now seem to be what we just saw, and then an occasional one like this one, and piles of these breadcrumb sponge. And this time I noticed more. I was speaking with Becky before the meeting that because she saw a lot of this in the UNH pair, all these sea vases. Well, the walls in two different sites would seem to be covered with these more than I normally associate with this area. And this was the safety stop urchin photo moment. I was playing around with this because the sun was behind us. And we were looking into the sun, so it was behind the subject. So I turned the shutter speed down to a 30th of a second because I wanted to be able to separate all of these little spines because the sun was hitting it, but I just wanted to lighten up the water more and get more ambient light through there. Um, but at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of urchins which joined the club. And it's
Andy,
fun
what
that
was
they
your speed? The camera speed?
were a 30th of a second.
Ah.
Yeah. I mean, the number one, the strobe will freeze the action, and the urchins really don't move all that fast. So I was able to do that. I mean, I went down. I started at 60, 50, and then went down to 30 each time before the water got a little too pale. Um, so yeah, so that works that way. I've done that with some other things that don't move very fast because I wanted the sharpness. I didn't want the sense of movement.
So
If I want the sense
usually,
of,
if you slow down, if you shoot, let's say 60 or more, it would be darker.
when I if like
You
say
would see less, right?
it would open up more, you allow more light to come in. So normally I'm
Right.
set it at like uh 125, 160, right in that
Right.
range. But this just lets in more because it is dark there. There's not all that much light.
So basically, if you want to take the
Oh,
picture with a more with to see how to say, to use the flash in a 125, you would see less of an urchin. But because you moved a little bit farther away, you decide to open up to slow down the speed.
well, I slowed down the shutter speed because when you move the shutter speed,
Right.
you're allowing, that's where you control the amount of light you're letting in. One of the ways. I mean, and so
No,
that
no,
allows
I
more.
understand that. I
Okay.
do the same thing. I'm just asking you because you moved farther back. That why you slowed down because you wanted to show more urchin in one shot.
Well, what I was trying to do was get this green water.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's why that was what because it was the sun was really streaming through there, so I wanted to be able to get green water, light green water, not
Hmm.
dark, because so many of our shots there, the background water is pretty dark.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And then I did put this one through that Aaron's backscatter thing because when you up in that area, Deer Island, Eastport, if there's water in the background, it is loaded with material. It's backscatter heaven there because it's just so much stuff in the water. And then a couple of Dorids here, they're feeding on um, bryozoans that's on a kelp. And there's a lot of what I saw here is a lot of this um, red-fingered Aeolus or the Vericosa nudibranch. And unfortunately, a lot of them were this color because they can be a deeper red. Uh, and so they were this color, which really matched the all the algae. So that there were a lot of shots that just passed on because it was too much of the same color. They didn't stand out at all. What's happening here? See, it's the same thing with this one. What I did try to do is just select the nudibranch and then just brighten it up a little bit so it would stand out from the algae. And I not only don't shoot these guys, the lyre crab. Sometimes they call it a toad crab. So there's one eye here, there's the other eye, but it just covers itself with algae. This time the current was going back and forth a little bit of the wave action. And so as soon as it went back a little bit and then got the all the algae away from its face, then I was able to take a picture of it and uh, to get it so you could see it. But otherwise, this creature survives only because it covers itself with so much either bryozoans or hydroids or in this case algae. And this was early on in one of the dives with Luis when we were in Cancat. This was a fairly large winter flounder. I don't know what I'd say, maybe it was my imagination, maybe 15 inches. It was good size. We didn't see that many fish this time. And Luis spotted this. You don't see this too often. This is one, it's one anemone, but it's splitting. So there's an oral disc here. There's an oral disc here. You can see a little space between it. They generally don't reproduce this way. Here's another view face on. You see the mouth on each one. Eventually, that should split down the middle. The frilled or plumose anemones, that's one of the ways they regularly reproduce. It's called longitudinal fission, so that it develops two heads, two oral discs, and then splits right down the middle and moves aside and looks just like its neighbor. So it's kind of unusual, but they generally don't. I've only seen this, I think it's the second or third time I've ever seen these guys splitting like that. And gunnels. So a lot. That's one fish we did see a lot of, but so it's gunnel resting on a sponge. And the slime worms, a whole group of them. For those that are not familiar with the slime worm, it's not a beautiful worm, but it's a sedentary worm, and sort of the worm part that looks just like any segmented worm is stuck inside that little crevice, and then this plume comes out. So it's one plume per worm, and that's what it uses for feeding and respiration. But if you come anywhere near it, like if you start to approach, as you're approaching, you're pushing a column of water right to it. So in a split second, it completely withdraws
Mhm.
and it's left with that sort of a membraney casing. And in a little bit, it comes back again and opens up. But that's why they call it a slime worm. There's another of these northern reds with two different kinds of this encrusting sponge. This is a called a Canadian. I forget the last part of it, but it's an encrusting sponge. Both of these are the same ones. This was a little hello moment. I was in a little narrow uh, section of the rock where the walls were. The wall sort of went into a little narrow crevice. So I went in and I was photographing something. And then I turned my head and this thing was right there, maybe, 10 inches away. So it was like a holy cow moment. And because it had its little den, which I hadn't seen because it was tucked into it. But and they're big because this was, I don't know, I would say at least a 10-pound lobster. And this is a finger sponge. And with this one, I was doing the same as what I did with urchins, where I just slowed down the shutter. But this may have been just a 60th, just to get some more of the green light, and then that would make this line a little more pronounced, that diagonal line. And a lot of crabs. There's Jonah crabs and the rock crabs. There were a lot of those, but it's not worth a 7-hour drive to see those rock crabs. But there are a lot of them. And continuing, well, with the urchins, this is on the wall part, and they're a different color. The ones that in that safety stop, they all have a different look. They're a lot darker. I have no idea why. Because it's not like they're mating and reproducing. They broadcast spawn. So right from this here, one of them releases sperm into the water and down current. Another one releases eggs. All that are synchronized at a certain time of the year. And then so fertilization takes place in the water column, and who knows where it's going to settle out. So I don't know. It has to be their food, what makes one population darker than the other. And I saw two sea spiders. You don't often see them. It's not the most beautiful animal in the world, but it's related very closely to the horseshoe crab. But this was probably oof, I don't know, maybe less than an inch in size. And it's called an anemone sea spider because the plumose anemone, the frill anemone, it feeds on those. And a little cluster, many clusters at certain depths, like on the at the point. That's the name of the dive site. Down about 55 feet or so, there were huge aggregations of these sea stars. But unfortunately, except for this, there's a little hue difference in that, but they're all pretty much, some of them would be, you might see 50 or 60, and they're all kind of a pale yellow, so they weren't the prettiest. This was a lesson for me, and I there was more of these fuzzy these Dorids, and they are, there's the eggs up on top, and this pair may be mating. These are not. Um, but I shot 5 pictures, and really, that's the of the five, that's the best one of the five. What I just, you know, was unhappy about. I didn't stay there longer because it was a nice scene to be able to get them. They're feeding on these bryozoans plus laying eggs, so it would have been a nice biological picture. But I was apparently too impatient and decided to move on. You see more. This is a blood star with, again, ever present. There are a lot of these um, sea vases. And this, we saw, Timor found this one. Actually, I turned it on its side. It should be a vertical. It should be aimed upward, but uh, and they feed on sponge. And this was the first time we'd ever seen it in Deer Island. Now, earlier in the year, in the winter, Timor saw a couple of these, or two at two different dive trips, saw them in Eastport. So it means they're coming up. I mean, they sort of began early on. I don't know. I'm going to guess 10 years ago, just on the southern part of Cape Ann, and they've been slowly marching northward. And I sent these to a biologist who had asked me if I had seen them. She works in a lab in St. Andrews, and was concerned that they were coming there because they, number one, they're invasive, and two, they feed on sponge, so they're just wiping out the sponge. But this one was and it was also, Timor, what would you say? This was 4, 5 inches?
Yes, it was a
Yeah,
big one.
yeah, it was really big.
Do you see, by the way, the another nudie next to it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just
yeah,
noticed it.
yeah.
I didn't see it underwater.
No, that's the, uh,
Platelina.
yeah, it is. And there was a series of when I was shooting those little white nudibranchs. There was the Dorids. I was shooting, and then I said I couldn't get because there seemed to be some algae on the side, and it was reddish, and I said, "Oh, the hell with it. I'm not going to be able to get a decent shot of this," so I left it. Well, when I got home and looked at it on my computer, I saw that red algae was really a red shrimp, so I guess I need a new prescription on my mask. And there's a lot of the brachiopods with a certain kind. This is what the brachiopod looks like this here. But there's a certain species of sponge that lives on the shell of the brachiopod. Um, so that's why some of them seem like really, really plump, but it's just all sponge. This is one that Timor had found. This was man, this I don't even think this was 3/4 of an inch. I mean, it was very tiny. Uh, the a dodo. and that's just munching away. If you look real closely, you'll see little small hydroids. There's like here's one, but little tiny ones in here, and that's what it feeds on, small hydroids. And there's either what's an Acadian hermit crab, probably a male, and now it's either holding a potential mate or a potential meal. Because it certainly has no interest in the shell, but you see that kind of thing pretty commonly. Okay, that's Deer Island. And next, make the June meeting. This what we have. See, as you can see, Andrea is going to talk about two different places to compare two spots in the Philippines, two different. I think it may be the same trip, but two different destinations. And then Brian has come up with uh, an interesting way for backscatter removal. Is Brian, you here? Nope. Okay. It's something that he uses with his astrophotography. And then Luis will be combined talking about two different dive trips, Belize and Bonaire. So we've got a nice, well-rounded meeting for this time.